I never thought I'd have to make this video because things like Google exist and they're free, but we're going to have to talk about tariffs today. Far too many people in the comment section of my videos that were talking about tariffs previously had made the statement that I don't know what tariffs are, I don't know how tariffs work, and they're displaying basically a level of ignorance that is just astounding because they obviously don't know how a tariff works and what a tariff actually does. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about tariffs. Hi, my name is Jinx, and I have a master's and doctorates in business administration with minors in economics and finance on an international level. And today we're going to discuss, what tariffs do and how they work. A tariff is not, and I will repeat, is not a tax placed on a foreign country or a foreign entity for importing goods. A tariff is a tax that the government places on a U.S.-based company, in this case for the United States, for importing said goods. So we'll say Company A, and we'll call Company A Toyota. Toyota imports the vast majority of its components and parts to build said vehicles from foreign countries. Some from the country of origin, some from Mexico. It all depends. These parts come from all over the place. Donald Trump placing a 25% tariff on, let's say, Canada or Mexico or hell, any other country, is going to increase the cost to the business in the United States. It is that business that pays the tax, not the foreign country. Tariffs do not punish the foreign country. Tariffs, if anything, punish the U.S.-based company. So what does that mean from a business perspective? From a business ownership perspective, looking at free markets and capitalism, if I, as the business owner, am now relying on paying an additional 25 or more % on the cost of goods that I'm bringing in and importing, what am I supposed to do? I've got a couple of choices. I can eat that cost and dig into my profits, or I can pass that cost on to the consumer. Now, I'm no expert as far as business management is concerned, but I would say that as a business person who's owned businesses previously, I'm not going to dig into my profits. I'm just going to pass the cost on to the consumer. And that's ultimately what ends up happening. So these taxes end up getting paid by the person purchasing, let's say in this case for Toyota, the end product, which would be one of their vehicles. The vehicle cost ends up going up. So as a recap, once again, tariffs do not punish the foreign country, nor is it a tax on the foreign country or the entities that are supplying the products from said foreign country. Tariffs are a tax on U.S. companies, local companies, for importing in the first place. They are basically placed on those imported goods, and the price and the cost is then passed on to you, the consumer. So ultimately, you, the actual consumer, pays for those tariffs. Now, lots of people were in my comments saying, well, that's going to force them to bring these jobs and bring manufacturing back to the United States. No, it won't. It is still cheaper in the long run for a company to import those goods from places where there's cheap labor and where the actual production systems exist. The United States does not have manufacturing hardly at all. And even if that were the case, even if we tariffed everything 10,000% and made it virtually impossible to import goods from foreign countries, it would take decades for the United States to ramp up its production and capability in order to actually produce the goods that we import on a daily basis. That includes food. We import a great deal of food from Mexico. A lot of produce, avocados are probably one of the most popular things that we import. That stuff comes in from Mexico, and we don't produce it here in the United States. A lot of the foods that we import, we don't even produce in this country. Hell, we barely even produce cotton in the United States anymore. We import most of our cotton from elsewhere, usually from South America. So are we going to start having cotton farms again? I mean, is it even possible to ramp up that kind of agricultural production? The reality is no, it's not. Plus, we don't have the workforce. If Donald Trump gets his way and he deports 11 million people out of this country, which it's never going to happen, but if he does get his way, you're deporting 11 million people from our workforce out of the country. We have even less people to work these jobs than we did before. We have a worker shortage in this country as it is. We are facing a critical worker shortage in the United States as it is. So, no, tariffs are not a good thing. And when you see people out there complaining about losing their job because their company's facing tariffs based on what Donald Trump is promising, They're laying people off already. They're doing cutbacks, massive cutbacks to try and save on money because they have to go out there and spend 25 to 60% more on these imported goods. They're not going to have enough money to pay a lot of people. Christmas bonuses are getting canceled. And for me, I find it humorous that so many people who thought this was a great idea, who voted for Donald Trump to bring in all these tariffs, are now suffering the consequences of their vote. That really boils down to a very simple fuck around and find out. Y'all fucked around, and now you're going to find out. Good job.